Good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be here in Sao Paulo, and thank you very much for your kind invitation. It's wonderful to travel and meet new friends and new colleagues from around the world who are all interested in um, moving change through our societies and our organizations. I am at the Kennedy School at Harvard in a program called Science, Technology, and Public Policy. I've been there off and on for, a long time, I suppose, 20 or 30 years, but I've also served in government for 15 or 20 years and in private industry at the same time. One of our interests there is to bring senior government executives from around the world together with senior industry executives and citizen leaders to understand where change is, where collaboration is taking us, what the best practices look like, where the path forward is, where people are having problems, where people are finding ways and workarounds. And it's extraordinary to discover the incredible diversity that exists, whether in military and intelligence or in health and human services, in education and finance. See the collaborations that are taking hold, see the kinds of problems and opportunities that people are experiencing around the world. They're quite similar, but of course unique to each region and each culture. So today I'm going to talk with you a little bit about this idea that we have called collaborate or perish. It comes from a long time ago, and the United States Customs Service was trying to automate all the customs processing so that instead of using paper forms, everyone could use a computer system, and the shippers and the freight forwarders from around the world could start with inputting, and then as the shipments came into the United States, it would all be electronic and entry would be that much faster. And there was enormous reluctance from the trade to make these moves, because it required an investment in computing, and it wasn't clear that the investment was really going to pay off. Well, the Customs Commissioner at the time, a fellow named William von Raab, had other things he needed to do with customs. It was the time of President Ronald Reagan. The war on drugs had just been declared. United States Customs was going to head to the open seas and protect ports and intercept ships and all the stuff that we've seen now for the last 30 years, and we continue to do it. And von Raab said to the industry, you will come onto this computer platform, you will automate, or you will perish. And it was a message that he gave to those who were reluctant to move forward. I think we're on a different hinge of history today. We're on a hinge of where collaboration has become, we're all now automated, that's not a problem. And in fact, we're all rather connected. But we're not yet collaborating. So this is a hinge of history, perhaps, a cusp, where we need to take a look at what the opportunities are for collaboration and what we need to do to be successful. So why collaborate? Well, I'm going to take you through a couple of brief stories here and give you an idea of what the value of collaboration is. We all know this fellow. He's not known as a collaborator. He's the Marlboro Man, right? He's the iconic American cowboy. He rides off into the distance. He goes it alone. No one does it better. And it's this sort of classic Western image. But we also know that he has run into a lot of problems. When we have Marlboro men running our organizations or our governments or our industries, and they're not collaborating, those companies and those government organizations run into very, very difficult times. In fact, they run into guys like George Hotz. So who's George Hotz? Well, George Hotz was at the time in 2009 a 19-year-old American hacker. He was famous in the world he moved in for having created a jailbreak for the iPhone. That's to say, a tethered jailbreak, which means that he had created a way for someone who owned an iPhone to use it on whatever wireless carrier they wanted, and they didn't have to be wed to AT&T, but you did have to run George's software on the phone before you could use the jailbreak. Well, DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research, I'll get that wrong, but DARPA, who actually did invent the internet in the United States, wanted to do an experiment. It was very interested in learning how social media could be used to solve some of the major intelligence problems of the time. In fact, whether the public, using off-the-shelf software, could collaborate to locate 10 red weather balloons. DARPA was celebrating its 40th anniversary and it announced that on December 9th, it would release 10 red weather balloons in 10 locations around the United States, each of which could be seen from a park or from a street, but none of the locations were made known. And it offered a $40,000 reward to the team that could identify, first team to identify the 10 locations by geospatial coordinates and report it in. So just for if you thought about how long it might take to find 10 red weather balloons around the United States, knowing nothing about where they were, but simply mobilizing social media and social networks and collaboration, who wants to take a guess how long it took for this to be accomplished? Just take a quick guess. How long, sir? A few days. Okay, a few days. Does that sound about right? A few days? A little longer? A little shorter? Okay, not a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks to find 10 red weather balloons. Okay. What's your guess? Day and a half. Okay, so we have quite a span. Day and a half, a couple of days, a couple of weeks. 9 hours. 9 hours, and the MIT team, which had mobilized to get this done, had identified all 10 locations. The Georgia Tech team came in second. They identified the 10, but a few minutes after MIT, and there was an awful lot of horse trading going on, and there was a lot of gaming going on. So the teams were feeding each other misinformation, reporting false sightings, sending people on wild goose chases so that, meanwhile, they're trading back and forth. Well, for the first 8 hours, so you'd expect MIT and Georgia Tech to do pretty well, right? I mean, they've got the brain power, they've got the muscle, they have the big institutional relationships. CNN is interviewing them on television. Well, George Hotz, who went by the Twitter handle @GeoHot, saw that this had been posted 3 days before, and said to his 40,000 Twitter followers, "So, dudes, stand by. There is an important game coming up, and I'm going to be the host." It wasn't quite like that, but it's pretty much the idea. And on the day of the contest, he rolled out a website, and this is a picture of the website. It's called Dude, It's a Balloon. And he tweeted his 40,000 followers, and he said, "So, when you're driving along with your buddy, and if you see a big red weather balloon, say to him, 'Dude, it's a balloon.' Call me, email me, and here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you $1,000 for every right answer that you give me, but more than that, I'm going to give you an untethered jailbreak to the iPhone." Well, untethered jailbreak to the iPhone is red meat to the hacker community, and word went around the United States and around the world that GeoHot, George Hotz, was offering an untethered jailbreak if everyone would come together and spot the red weather balloons. For the first 8 hours of the competition, George Hotz led. He had gotten 4 within 4 hours. He bought and traded a couple more. Finally, MIT surged ahead. Georgia Tech surged ahead. But it was remarkable that, sort of rolling out of bed, mobilizing 40,000 Twitter followers, this kind of event, this kind of collaboration could be achieved. And as the DARPA folks said, this solution is unattainable by ordinary intelligence means. And it really was impressive for DARPA to understand and to see this. Well, that's all fine, and proves that together we can do things that we can't do alone. But we also have to get serious. This is a serious business, but we collaborate because there are serious stakes, and we want to We can work better together to achieve important outcomes. This is a picture of Bill Bratton. Safety is very important, public safety. In New York in the 1990s, when Chief Bratton came to New York was suffering a lot of crime. There were guys standing at every traffic intersection with squeegees, these rubber wipe down things, and they would terrorize motorists, and it felt as though the city was out of control. Well, Bill came in and he instituted something that was called the CompStat program. CompStat's since been replicated around the world in many police departments, since the philosophy is pretty clear. We need to collaborate by creating strategies that mobilize the rank and file police officer and tap what those officers want to do. And that is, they signed up to fight crime. They didn't sign up to turn their eyes from it. They didn't sign up to be ineffective. They want to be effective, and we're going to help them be that way. We create the strategies. Bratton said, we will send them out to the 30,000 cops who police New York. They will invent the tactics. They will collaborate and then share that back with us as best practice in achieving crime control in our city. Will we involve citizens? Yes. But as Bratton said, citizens don't want to get involved, and they don't have to get involved. When they come home at 6 o'clock at night or at 7 o'clock, they're ready for dinner and family and television time, whatever it is. They've worked a long day. They don't want to be responsible for crime. That's our job. We have to do it, and here's how we're going to do it. The result, year over year, double-digit declines in crime in New York City. It persisted for 10 years. Bill was there for 2. Collaboration for public safety is possible. Gains are possible. CompStat is one way in which it's accomplished. Education. Claudia Costin, the Secretary of Education from Rio de Janeiro here. So Claudia came upon the Rio school system. It was in shambles, of course. Middle class had long abandoned it. The performance was poor. Teachers were disenfranchised and demoralized. And Claudia, one day, was urged by her daughters to open a Twitter account to communicate when they were overseas on travel what they were doing. Claudia discovered, to her surprise, that as she came onto Twitter, teachers began to follow her, and she didn't understand why. She had never been there before, and it wasn't clear what it was about. And what she discovered was that more and more teachers began to follow her, and it became a very effective means for her to engage and find teachers. And teachers she now has tens of thousands of followers. She can speak to many teachers at a time, not just by email, and share it once to the many. But the thing about Claudia's use of Twitter was that that wasn't where she left it. It was a start of an engagement that involved many, many different platforms. There was collaboration around curriculum, collaboration around infrastructure development. She's an extraordinary leader in many ways, and she's able to use these platforms to engage as appropriate. Much face-to-face work, a hybrid collection of collaboration tools. It began with a few quick tweets on Twitter. We collaborate for resilience. Okay, so Toyota produces cars. It used to produce really good cars, and one day again I'm sure it will. It has a network of suppliers, and one of its main suppliers is called Aishin. Some years ago, a fire destroyed the Aishin plant, and with it took down production of a key Toyota part. It was a $5 valve that fit into every Toyota brake. It was called a P-valve. When that P-valve fell off production because Aishin was now burned and the factory floor was destroyed, hundreds of companies were at risk because Toyota was going to have to shut down its assembly plants until it could get replacement parts in.